I've never been all that great at expressing myself. Despite how I may present myself here, if you met me in person, I can come off as distant, holding almost everyone at arm's length. I keep to myself for better and for worse. I struggle to understand myself at times because of that, my bottled emotions mixing until they're almost unrecognizable, a blur of feelings without a name. That was my life for a very long time. So I am able to open up here and now is something I've been trying to understand for a while now, because there's a contradiction at the heart of what I do. The urge to stay quiet competing with the desire to share my thoughts with the world. And in my attempts to understand those parts of me, I'm reminded of a show I love. It's a show about untangling messy emotions and laying them bare for all to see, following someone trying to understand what they feel and what it all means. Violet Evergarden, written by Kana Akatsuki and illustrated by Akiko Takase, was originally published as a light novel in December 2015, with an adaptation from Kyoto Animation airing in January 2018. The story follows Violet, a young girl raised as a child soldier. After the Great War ends, she is thrust into civilian life, an existence she's never known. Though emotionally stunted from years of war and still recovering from her wounds, Violet begins work as an auto-memory doll, a ghostwriter who transcribes people's thoughts and feelings onto paper. In doing so, she hopes to uncover the meaning of the final words her beloved Major left her with, words she has yet to understand. The words, "I love you." This show is a piece of art, a beautifully animated work with a resonant story to boot. As expected of Kyoto Animation, of course, the studio behind things like Clanad, A Silent Voice, and Sound Euphonium, honestly, they have almost nothing but bangers over there. I know it's been years since this show came out, and the movie too, but it's been on my mind recently as I reflect on this path I'm on. It's a story about the importance of words and how they affect people. I have thoughts about the direction the story goes in, especially later on, what's explored in the movies. I won't spoil what that is if you haven't seen it, but I will say that even though I think certain plot points undercut the emotional resonance established earlier in the series, the story does a good job of exploring the ramifications of the direction it chooses. My opinions have more to do with taste rather than substance. If it was my story, I personally wouldn't have gone down the path the series takes, but it's not my story, and I respect what the author was trying to do and say. And there is a clear thematic arc here. It explores Violet as she begins to process the things she's been through, a child soldier attempting to adjust to normal life. The central conceit of the story lives and dies through Violet's experiences. It would completely fall apart if it didn't understand Violet's point of view. It's a point of view that is extremely limited in scope. The only thing she really knows is war, how to be a weapon. Though the Major treated her with kindness and empathy during their time together, he was still her superior, and all she could do was follow his orders. It speaks to a lack of agency. Violet learned to repress her emotions in order to keep moving forward in life, and you can see that reflected in her early writings. It's characterized by its sterile nature, clinical, factual, with absolutely no personality. It's a type of writing whose primary purpose is to convey information, a report, a thesis. There is a time and place for that sort of thing, but when that's the only form of communication you know, there's a sense of devaluing the self. Why inject personal thoughts and feelings into what you say when it doesn't really matter? It isn't until Luculia that Violet realizes that words have the power to convey more than sheer information. Though the letter she writes for Luculia is very matter-of-fact, it communicates more than what it seems. I'm happy that you are alive. Thank you. Short, sweet, to the point. But it gets to what Luculia wanted to say. And here Violet learns that the written word can communicate more than we often can ourselves, giving voice to the parts of us that don't quite know how to speak. This first letter Violet writes, it's the most important one in her journey. It leads her to discovering a fundamental characteristic of writing: voice. When I was younger, I used to write like Violet, plain and straightforward. It wasn't until much later that I learned that writing could convey so much more. I remember reading a passage in class, something I don't remember what, but it changed me forever. Because what I read didn't just tell me what I should know, it gave me clues into how to feel. Word choice, tone, points of view, the structure of the words themselves, the hidden emotions behind why things are said certain ways. They all contributed to this thing I felt when reading, and for the first time, it dawned onto me as to why. I realized that words had the power to communicate emotions beyond the information the words themselves contain. Turns of phrase have the ability to conjure up certain feelings in your mind. That might seem obvious, but at the time, it was a revelation to me. And in Violet's letters, she made that realization too. To write this way requires emotional intelligence, an understanding of what someone feels and why. In other words, empathy. If I had to describe Violet's journey in its simplest terms, it would be that of discovering empathy. Her stated goal was to understand what Gilbert meant when he said, "I love you," and that's what that is. Not just knowing what was said, but the weight, the feeling behind those words. And for someone like Violet, someone who spent their whole life suppressing their emotions, it's not so simple to grasp. Because to understand what someone else feels, you need to understand your own emotions. Empathy requires you to relate your emotions to someone outside of you. The part that Violet struggles with isn't the desire to understand other people. She wants to. It's in her inability to understand herself. She spent her entire life denying her own feelings. She denied her pain, her hesitation, her own thoughts about the things she had to do, all in an attempt to keep her from breaking down. Not out of apathy. It wasn't something done consciously. I see it as a means of survival, self-preservation, and in some ways, it does help her. She's able to function and operate competently. But in doing so, Violet lost touch with her sense of self. She buried her feelings, disassociation as a response to the trauma of growing up in a time of war. It's easy to see how that might affect someone like her, a child still learning about the world outside herself, someone so impressionable who denied what they felt just to keep moving forward. That's the mechanism that keeps Violet from understanding what other people feel. If she believed her own emotions didn't matter, how would she ever relate to what other people are going through? Repression leads to emotional distance. It severs the link between your internal world and the world outside of you. And our internal world is an important thing to maintain. Caring for it means caring for ourselves, making sure we eat, stay hydrated, and sleep. And that's why I want to thank today's sponsor, Manta Sleep. Manta Sleep make premium sleep masks designed for total blackout comfort and deep, uninterrupted rest, whether you're a light sleeper, a traveler, or someone just trying to quiet the noise of the day. I've been using their Sound Sleep Mask, which comes with built-in Bluetooth speakers, thin enough to stay comfortable even if you're a side sleeper like me. It's perfect for drifting off to calming music, podcasts, or ambient noise. I actually used it recently when I had a migraine, and it helped a lot. Just being able to block out the light completely without putting pressure on my face thanks to the deep eye cups made a huge difference. Sometimes, that's all it takes to feel a little more human again. The whole design is adjustable, breathable, and incredibly soft. Easily the most comfortable sleep mask I've ever owned. If you want to try it out for yourself, head to the link in the description and use the code ROBES10 for 10% off your first order. Thanks again to Manta Sleep for sponsoring this video and for helping me take care of my world inside. Now let's get back to the story. Violet is a character who spent most of her life living in silence, and in writing, even if it's on behalf of someone else, she tries to speak for the first time. As an auto-memory doll, she learns very quickly that it's not enough to repeat what was said, to lay things out plainly and straightforwardly. She needs to understand the emotions beneath what's being said. Her job then is not as a mirror, but as a lens, refining and focusing what others can't say themselves. And in doing so, by letting emotions pass through her, she begins to take on those emotions herself. You can see that pretty clearly during her time with the playwright. Yes, that job is mostly transcribing, but you can see her influence and how she's influenced by the text bit by bit. She worries about the characters' futures. She empathizes with what they feel, and she even bounces ideas off the playwright that shape where the story goes. It's a significant step in her development. As Violet continues to write, she begins reclaiming more and more of her emotions. She starts to feel through someone else when she couldn't feel herself. I think that's why I like stories. They give me the permission to feel things I otherwise wouldn't let myself. And I see that in Violet too. Her writing is a means of allowing emotions to run through her. Emotions she didn't allow herself to feel before. While we don't know much about her life before Gilbert, there's a lot that the story implies. A girl fighting for survival in the world. And when that's all you know, there's no space for understanding other people's lives. You do what you can. You do what you have to. That's the only means to survive. But after that danger has passed, after the war was over, all Violet was left with was a mountain of feelings she's never addressed. Hodgins was right when he told her she was burning even if unaware. And there's the concern that maybe it'll all be too much to bear. It might be easier to keep living if you didn't learn them, if you didn't know them. But in Violet's desire to know what the Major's words meant, Hodgins sees someone else, someone kind, yearning for connection. And so he gives her the tools to reclaim everything she's lost. Every letter Violet writes brings her closer to understanding the gravity of what she's been through and what she's done to get there. She learns people are more than they seem on the surface, what it means to hide feelings away, not be honest with them, and how letters can make space for that honesty. She learns what it means to connect with someone outside of her and what it means to lose someone so close. Each of these experiences build on each other. They accumulate and converge until finally, Violet sees everything she's hid away. A moment of realization, the kind where everything hits you all at once. And I think it's fitting for that to hit Violet after connecting with a story she's been asked to tell. Because her letters are stories, one that tell the story of the client she's worked with. Our letters to others are stories about ourselves. And what I think rests at the heart of this show is how they allow us to experience emotions we never could face on our own. A writer's secret weapon is empathy, to feel what characters do, and what that makes the reader feel as well. That empathy, that kindness, it helped me more than I could ever say. I've watched hundreds of movies, hours of TV, read book after book after book. And there are times that they hit me at the right place, at the right time, and speak to the struggles I'm going through. I've spent so much of my life burying my emotions, hiding away what I've been through and locking it up behind key and lock. I tried to deny the hurt I felt in hopes that ignoring the pain would keep me going. I went through life pretending everything was fine. I lived, made friends, did everything I was supposed to, all while ignoring the pit in my stomach that only kept growing. The burns I ignored, the festering, the rot. It consumed everything inside of me. What was left was a shell of myself, a husk. The goal was not to feel my pain, and it worked, but at the cost of not feeling anything. Like Violet, I didn't understand my emotions. I didn't understand myself. And as a result, I distanced myself from others. I lived my life feeling like there was this veil over me, separating myself from everyone around me. It was as if I was a character in a game being controlled by some distant person. I was aware of every move I was making, every limb, every motion. Every word I'd speak felt forced. I spoke in words, not sentences. It's a hard feeling to describe, but the thing that stuck with me was that I felt so incredibly alone. Alone in my thoughts, alone in this little world I had created for myself, forged from trauma to protect myself from things around me. I didn't let anyone in, and nothing ever came out. But the stories I read, the stories I watched, they were an escape for me. A place for me to feel things I couldn't, things I wouldn't let myself feel otherwise. I wrote stories and essays that slowly opened up my closed-off world, a way for me to connect with someone, anyone out there who would listen. I see the same in Violet. The letters she wrote, the emotions she internalized. It didn't create those feelings in her. They revealed what was already there until they overflowed and she couldn't ignore them anymore. The guilt, sorrow, the anguish and hurt all came rushing out in a moment of heartbreaking realization. And when she finally comes to terms with everything she's been through and done, the letters she wrote gave her the space to step in others' shoes. They gave her the tools to unravel everything inside of her. I've said this before and I'll say it again, but these essays are not just about analyzing media. They're a way for me to explore everything inside of me. I try to understand what a piece of art makes me feel and why. For me, I relate to the story of someone uncovering their buried feelings and trying to understand what they feel themselves, and in turn, how that opens up their world, how that leads them to understanding other people, slowly learning empathy to feel what other people do. It's been hard interrogating myself like this, untangling my emotions and giving them a voice. I come across memories I don't like thinking about, experiences that I've suffered through that I'd rather forget. But in feeling through media, it helps me process those thoughts. Everything I felt, I just push them down, ignoring the parts of me that connect to everyone else. Like Violet, it's a journey of reclaiming things I tried to leave behind. And through her letters, through these essays, we learn to expand our tiny worlds to hold more than just ourselves. I've spent so much of my life feeling alone, so distant from everyone and everything. And to be honest, I never expected to get the attention that I did. To think that there are people out there who connect to this journey of mine to find a voice, that I'm not alone in walking this path, it gives me comfort in ways I would have never realized. But this isn't the end of the journey. Like Violet, I have a lifetime to go in uncovering everything I've tucked away. Media gave us the tools to understand ourselves. Letters, stories, they're not frivolous things. They have power. And sometimes they can connect with us at the right place at the right time. For me, now, Violet Evergarden hits harder than ever because I'm finally ready to confront the things inside me. I'm ready to confront what I told myself I could just ignore. And in turn, that opens up my world to people, lifting the veil I realized I'd placed on myself. Don't be satisfied with taking what you read or what you watch at face value. There's always something there that tries to speak to someone. It might not be a message for you, but that doesn't mean no one is listening. The power of words are in what they say to who. Because when those words reach the people who need them, when it connects with something that they couldn't bring themselves to express, it can shape their entire world. Like Violet, I want to understand other people. I want to understand myself. I'm tired of living this life all alone. And little by little, we reach out with the stories we tell, the words we write, all in the hopes that they might one day reach someone else. As always, thank you so much for watching. This was pretty stressful to make, if I'm being honest. I'm not used to working with a deadline, but we did it. This was actually the fastest I've made a video considering I started it in mid-October. This is what I get for dragging my feet. But that aside, I hope you liked the video. If you did, leave a like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. If you want to support the channel, consider subscribing to my Patreon like these fine people here. You can do so for as little as $1. But that's it from me. Thanks again for watching and stopping by, and I hope to see you in the next one. Shoots